It's Seeing Red, the New York Soccer Roundup. Since 2010, your weekly source for independent New York Red Bulls news and opinion. Now, from the Joe Goldstein studio, here's your host, Mark Fishkin.
That was as poor a Derby performance as we've seen maybe since the last Derby against DC. The Red Bulls lose their second straight in uninspiring fashion, a 2-0 loss on a big mistake by Carlos Coronel and a horrific attack. Now the Red Bulls have a chance to move to the final 8 of the U.S. Open Cup Wednesday at home. I'm Mark Fishkin. I'm here with Mike Battista. How are you, Mike?
Good. I mean, if I could just talk about Open Cup and not talk about the Derby games, I can leave.
Nope. You got to stay. Please do the liking and the subscribing. We're very, very glad that you've joined us on this week's Seeing Red, and we're seeing egg because the Red Bulls absolutely laid an egg in the Derby. Tonight on the show, we'll look back at this dreadful Hudson Derby for the Red Bulls. We're not going to talk about a Bull of the Week because if you were a Red Bull fan and you went to this game, that's you. We'll do a deep dive on the U.S. Open Cup round of 16. We'll have a preview of FC Dallas's visit to Harrison on Wednesday. Gonna be a wet one. We've got a chat with Dan Crooke of Third Degree and your emails. So, New York has been playing every 3 or 4 days for a number of weeks now. New York rotated their lineup a little bit coming into Queens, but it seemed that for most of this game, Mike, New York was content to cycle and cycle and cycle the ball around the back of the formation, to push it down the wings, to try and get it in. And they got one shot on net in 94 minutes, and it was too little, and it was not enough. And some mistakes led to a really dispiriting loss that has New York under 500 for the first time in a while. What do you think?
I mean, the Red Bulls played like a team that was tired. I don't care what Sandro says after the game. They looked tired. They looked out of ideas. They didn't rotate the roster in a sense that I'm not saying you bring up Red Bull 2 guys. I'm saying that you can't just swap out Dennis Gengar for Cameron Harper and Daniel Letterman for Peter Stroud and expect it to be like magic that everyone's fine. Yeah. What this team showed is this team is exactly the team we thought they'd be. They don't have someone who could consistently score. Chupo is not going to be the type of player who could score every game. He's not going to be that consistent goal scorer. I don't think he is. So to see him like that first half, his only chance was that wide shot, like from a difficult angle. And then the only shot on goal of the game was Dennis Gengar. So it just goes to show that I'm also getting scared that people are starting to really pontificize Lewis Morgan, where he's like, oh, once he gets back, it's all going to be fine. No, it's not. He's not that player. He's just a playmaker alongside Emil Forsberg. We still need the guy in the final third.
Yeah. The first goal for City, I think he handed to him. A great finish from outside the box. That wasn't, I mean, you have to score if you want a result in this league. And I had no issue whatsoever with conceding that goal. Well done. Fair play. Of course, it's City's first goal in, 4 games, but sure.
They were due.
Carlos Coronel with, just a massive gaffe, just letting the ball roll away from him right to wee man Maxi Morales, and the 38-year-old scores the first goal of the season, his first goal of the season. And I agree with Sandro Schwartz after the game and said, look, this guy's won us more games than you can count. So he's going to make a mistake like that. It's fine. There's really nothing to do about it. But New York should have actually done something interesting on the attack. There was a minute in the second half where the ball was worked up the left side. Peter Stroud gets the ball, and there is a straight line to Emil Forsberg, who has broken to the top of the box. And Stroud doesn't look up and doesn't see him. And Forsberg would have been in alone. I don't necessarily fault Cam Harper for being able to get by one guy, but not three guys, right? As he's going down the right side of the attack. The whole second half, Matt Freese played with the sun in his eyes. And yet New York was unable to get the ball in a position in the attacking half to even try to fling it his way. It just, everything was to the side. And, credit City. I mean, that was their game plan. But really, it just was disappointing. And Kyle Duncan putting the ball in the 30th row in the first half on a ball that, I mean, opportunistic, sure. But, I mean, I don't know why defenders 30 yards from goal think that ball falling to them is going in the back of the net. It doesn't happen.
So, like, Alonso Martinez, the amount of times he was able to be onside behind the Red Bulls defense on a counterattack, I think I counted 5 times in the first half. Yeah. I don't know why the defense is playing that high up to allow that to happen. Not once, not twice, not thrice, yada, yada. It just kept happening. Like, why does he keep getting these runs? And the goal he scored, it's almost a mirror of the Carvalho goal from the playoffs. And even the Harper goal from last year, too. The problem is that, like, if you watch that goal back again, everyone on the Red Bulls is if I'm looking at the camera, left. They're going left. Like, everyone is going left, and then they pass to Martinez. He's in the middle. They thought he was going to dribble towards goal. They 100% thought he was going towards goal. So when he struck it from that far out, no one was ready for it. So it was a great shot. I'm not going to say it didn't deserve to go in, but I'm just saying, like, the fact we were that in the motion of, like, okay, we're all over here. Now we just got to move over this way. Like, why are we not putting people in the middle watching this guy? I know he's on a cold streak, but he's still one of the guys for NYCFC. Overall, it just, no one looked coordinated. You saw it in the second half where the subs, like, you saw a little bit of change in the second half in the formation because you saw
as always
one on goal, but then it just didn't really work out. And then the Coronel thing, it bothers me. And I've said my opinions of him on this show, where there are days I love him and there's days where I go, I can't take this anymore. But that was just frustrating to watch beyond belief.
Since April 26th, April 19th, the Red Bulls have lost 4 of 7. They've lost 2 in a row. For the first time this season, they've lost 3 of 5, and they are below the line. But hope springs eternal because of the other trophy that's up for grabs. Again, if you traveled, Mike's getting excited. If you traveled for this match, you are a Bull of the Week, because the Red Bulls did not prove that they were worthy of one of those. All right, starting tomorrow, my guy, the U.S. Open Cup round of 16 is here. Take it away.
All right. We're down to the round of 16, 8 games, 2 tomorrow, 6 on Wednesday. I don't know why it's scheduled like that, but
do 4 and 4. No, I don't know.
You could do 4 and 4. I don't know. Maybe CBS said something. Maybe it's just U.S. Soccer being U.S. Soccer. Yeah. But the cool thing is that each day there will be a game on Golazo Network, CBS Golazo, and there is one game happening. I'm sorry, 2 games are on CBS Sports Network, I think, and one's on Golazo. And we, the Red Bulls, are on CBS Sports Network along with Paramount Plus.
Tremendous.
So if you have cable, you can watch the Red Bulls again.
Very cool.
16 teams, 15 of which are at Major League Soccer sides. Only one lower division team was able to pull off the upset last round. There were a couple scares. Indy 11 took Philadelphia Union to penalty kicks. Tacoma Defiance, the reserve team, the Seattle Sounders, scared the out of Portland Timbers.
Yeah.
We had a lot of good ones, but the only team to advance from the round of 32 was the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, who beat New York City FC in a game I should have seen coming, because New York City FC always loses to lower division teams, and I was too blinded to see that coming.
Yeah.
So Right now, that is the only game featuring a lower division team when they do the Keystone Derby for the first time and head to Subaru Park.
The
Meanwhile,
first time?
the first time the first
Wow.
two teams have ever met.
These teams, these cities don't like each other. I think it's awesome.
It's awesome. This is a hockey rivalry, football rivalry, everything. So this is what the Open Cup's made for. Meanwhile, the Red Bulls, they're facing their old rivals, the Dallas Burn.
We'll get into that in a sec.
Get into that in a second. But overall, there's a lot of good games in this round. Even in the people who are upset that it's just MLS, guess what? That's what the FA Cup does. It's usually just Premier League teams towards the end anyway. So we have rivals. We have a Texas Derby. We have the Keystone Derby. We have an original matchup. We have multiple original matchups. So to have games like this is a good time.
It is a good time. Is there one match other than, of course, the Red Bulls and other than perhaps the Philadelphia Derby that you're looking forward to?
That Derby's really good.
Yes, but other than that, the other nondescript MLS v MLS games.
I will give you two. I will give you DC United versus Charlotte.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's a good one, especially because last round we saw DC United in the coffee pot with Troy Lesane playing his old team in Charleston Battery.
Yep.
So to see that game play out, I think Charlotte and DC both know what the Open Cup could do for them, because right now the season's kind of mid for them, and I feel like this is going to be a game where they don't rotate. They're going to go all out. Meanwhile, the other one I'm going to do is Houston versus Austin.
Yeah.
Just because that is just a good old fat. I forget what the rivalry is called when it's all the Texas teams. Copa something.
It's right, Copa Tejas, I think. It's no longer come and take it, right? That's just Dallas, Houston. So
I believe so. So you know what? I will say that's going to be a really good game. It's going to be one of those games where back when Red Bulls and NYCFC would meet in the Open Cup, it would be one of those first games for the Red Bulls where the Open Cup tickets actually sell. I feel like that's going to be the same thing for, I believe it's Austin hosting this game. Like, that's going to sell.
Yeah, for sure. Good. It's going to be exciting. And the Red Bulls are taking part as well. And they're hosting FC Dallas in an OG, in a replay, if you will, of the only time the Metro Stars or Red Bulls have ever played on the island of Manhattan. In 1997, these two teams met in the Open Cup at Rocco Camiso Stadium at Columbia University. It was the only time that this then young person took the subway to see the Metro Stars play exclusively, and it was glorious. Even though Bronco picked up a red card, one of his many red cards for this team, for the Metro Stars, and Metro crashed out at home up in in Inwood. It was wonderful.
One train.
That was the one train, my man.
Yeah.
Wonderful and dreadful. All right, here we go. Dallas is having a very Red Bull-like season so far. They're 4-5-4. They have fewer points than New York does. They're 11th in the West. Woof. They've scored 15 and allowed 22. They have among the lowest possession in MLS, and tied for the third fewest shots on goal. And they foul a ton with almost 14 fouls a game. FC Dallas got here by way of taking on and defeating powerhouse USL League One FC Alta at home on May 7th. Other important to note, this is a fantastic away team. They've only lost once away all season long. Amazing. Too bad we're not playing there. Their last 5, 2-2-1. They're only, a 4-3 win at Miami. Achi. They got pounded 5-0 at San Diego. They have their 3-1 win against AV Alta, a home draw against RSL, and then a 2-0 loss to Houston in one of those Copa Tejas matches. Yuck. Whole lot of changes. They brought in Leo Chu from Seattle. They brought in Lucho Acosta from Cincinnati. Abubakar is a known talent in this league. They brought in Shaq Moore from Nashville. and a couple of interesting international signings as well. On the way out, Alan Velasco, who's a big bust for Dallas while he was there. Paul Arriola moved on to Seattle, as did Jesus Ferreira. And that's little Pepe. That's not big Pepe. That's little Pepe, who is now, I think, playing in someone else's MLS Next Pro team. But nevertheless, a lot of changes. Oh, and Jimmy Moore, who Red Bull fans and Cosmos fans will remember.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, he's 36 and he is on his way out. Or he left over the off season. 36. He's on Houston now, joined on a free. All right, some themes. It's a rebuilding year in Dallas, an up and down year for Dallas. No surprise, their roster, as you can see, significant changes at when Jesus Ferreira to the Sounders and Alan Velasco, and then came Lucho Acosta, and Peter Musa has filled the void, but he, I believe, is injured. Acosta's had a fantastic season. Musa not quite as stride, having missed parts of the season due to injury. And Eric Quill, former FC Dallas man, is in his coach. Nico Estevez had the group underperforming. Under Eric Quill, it's been more of the same. He's a young coach. This is his first top division job. At the highest level he coached previously was at New Mexico United. Sound familiar, Troy Lesesne fans? His inexperience may be a big contributor to why Dallas hasn't clicked. But to be fair, there's been so much change, and this is a long project. So keep it going. Now, I'm going to get to the history slide. There are some very interesting things that you will see here that have nothing to do with any sort of playing for laundry style curses or jinxes. Here we go. This is an OG 96er, the 53rd time these teams are meeting in all comps. The Red Bulls lead. They have 9 more wins. The last time they played was last March at home. Red Bulls lead at home 15-9-2. The Red Bulls haven't lost to Dallas in a very long time. They're on a 9-match unbeaten run. The last time FC Dallas won in the series was 13 years ago. The last time Dallas won at New York was 19 years ago. And in that game, the goal scorers were Seth Stamler for the Red Bulls, Kenny Cooper for Dallas, and El Pescadito, Carlos Ruiz, with the game winner in the 87th minute during the George W. Bush administration. It has been nearly 2 decades since Dallas has won at the, well, it was their first year as the Red Bulls, the last time that Dallas beat New York in New Jersey. All-time leading scorer, Clint Mathis, to the surprise of no one, after his magnificent 5-goal game. Active scorers, Sean Nealis, Lewis Morgan, and Emil Forsberg each have a single goal against. Just because Dallas hasn't won in New York in 19 years doesn't mean anything. And it doesn't mean anything because even though there have been some players like Kei Kamara who were in the league in 2006, as he's on his 13th team playing for Cincinnati this week, look it up. None of these players were there back in
Julian Hall wasn't born.
That's a great stat.
Oh my God.
Julian Hall wasn't born the last time the last time that Dallas won. All right. Given the fact that there's all the rotation and everything, and we don't know what's going to happen, and we're going to talk to Dan Crooke a little bit about it. Here is what Eric Quill's 4-2-3 on could look like. Michael Collodi, a 23-year-old American, has 1 clean sheet and given up 3 goals in 3 games. A backline could be Nolan Norris, a 20-year-old American, Lalas Abubakar, who's 30. Wow, I'm old. Ozasi Urgohide from England has a goal as a center back, and Shaq Moore is now 28 and an MLS journeyman at this point of his career with a goal and assist. Siki Nsalabang from South Africa and Ramiro from Brazil are the 2 6s. Lucho Acosta has 4 goals on the season for Dallas. He'll be flanked most likely by Bernard Camugo, the 23-year-old American, and Paxton Pomykal, who is still playing soccer for Dallas at age 25. He's yet to get a point this year. Up top, Logan Farrington, young American, I believe, out of the Dallas. He's on run, I believe, with a goal. And so, sir, I mean, New York is in a world of hurt. They've lost 2 games in a row for the first time this year. They're below the line. Confidence, I would imagine, is not as an all-time high, and they're probably pretty exhausted. They're just coming off 3 straight road games, and now they're home. No, 2 out of 3 of the last 4 away, but they're home now. And what do you expect to see Wednesday night at wet Sports Illustrated Stadium?
Well, first off, Eric Quill, former Metro star as well. 2 caps in 2005.
Wow.
Also, the thing you need to remember is last time he won a game in the Open Cup was in New York, because his New Mexico United team beat New York City FC 2 in the round of 16 last year.
At Belson?
At Belson, yes, because New York City FC2 made it to the round of 16. And they nearly played an MLS team, but New Mexico stopped that. But regardless, I didn't know it was that bad, and now
it's been a long time.
Now I'm petrified, because that just feels like karma. What I'll say is that this is the type of game where both teams are terrible, or both teams are mediocre.
Not in a good way, yeah.
Not in a good way. And the issue is that with it being midweek, you can expect rotation, and I feel like both teams are going to do it. That means it can go either way. I feel like the edge is for the Red Bulls because they're the home team and because it's 2 time zones away. Like, they have the home field advantage, short rest, but they're not on a jet lag. And I know that they're professional athletes, but that does catch up to you still. Overall, from what I've seen for Dallas, because I just wrote a piece for Hudson River Blue that's going to go out tomorrow for the Open Cup, is that everyone knew that this team was going to be mediocre to bad, and they're very lucky that LA Galaxy is having an historically bad season, because that is taking all the heat off them in the West. Because right now, Eric Quill is just able to do what he can with what he got on a team that just gave up most of what it had. And this is a team where, if you remember, like, North Texas SC was like the greatest reserve team in the world for a while, and it looked like FC Dallas was the next on apparent because of how their development was going. So to see all this happen now is it's insane to see how far they've fallen off, because they looked like they were going to be the next power in Major League Soccer. But overall, I feel like this is the time for someone to finally get something going. It could go either way. It really can. I'm just hoping it goes the Red Bulls.
Players that usually start for Dallas that might be injured or just rotated. Leo Chu, again, the Brazilian from Seattle, has been dealing with a knee issue. Sebastian Lletget, who is still an active player. He has a leg injury. He's 32 now. And then Martin Paes, the talented Indonesian Dutch goalkeeper. Probably, maybe, we don't know. We'll find out. But again, you have to take streaks like that, as you said, off the table. It really is 2 teams and who wants it more. All that matters, who's going to get the breaks. New York, as you said, is playing at home. And even though they played away last week, they were sleeping in their own beds. So
no, they weren't.
They didn't sleep in their own beds?
They stayed in a hotel when they went to Citi Field.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah, I just found that out, and it's very funny.
That's really strange. All right. Did they stay in the LaGuardia Garden Inn or something like that?
It was some our friends in the PR department wouldn't tell me.
Okay.
I just know it was on the it was in Manhattan.
It was
because a couple of them are Celtics fans, and they wanted to go to
They wanted to go see the Knicks on Friday night. All right.
But no, they wanted to go see the Celtics, and they saw the Knicks.
Oh, all right. And a few of the Mets came out on the field during the game and probably said, "Who are these guys running around on our beautiful field?" During the Hudson Derby.
One of my favorite quotes is Mark Teixeira back in like 09, or he's either 010 or 2010 or 2011, where he's like, Yankee Stadium used to be one of the best stadiums in the world. And then when NYCFC moved in a couple years after that, he said, they've destroyed the pitch, and it's I can no longer enjoy it.
Okay. Well, I don't enjoy the Yankees, so it's even. You have a prediction, or is it flip a coin?
I've put down on record at Hudson River to say that
give us an advance.
So Red Bulls win this game 1-0.
Sounds right.
That's because it's just I'm not going to tell this team they're going to score 2 goals. Are you kidding? Are you in this economy? 2 goals? In
this economy?
And Dallas feels like a team that's just I don't know what their rotation looks like. So to see what they pull out, someone is going to blink, and I just think it's going to be Dallas here. All
right. I say it's either a Red Bulls 1-0 win or Dallas wins in penalties. It's one of the two. If it goes to penalties, Carlos does well, but the karma for both these teams is just poor. Again, getting to Final 8 is a big prize, and during a time where New York is not generating much other than the LA game, their last 3 MLS games, the XG was 0.6, 0.6, and 0.4.
I need the Open Cup, man.
Yeah, well, it's almost here, my guy. All right,
yeah.
We're back on Seeing Red. Our friend Dan Crooke in Dallas to tell us alls about FC Dallas, so keep it here. Back on Seeing Red, the New York Soccer Roundup. Red Bulls getting ready to take on FC Dallas Wednesday night at Sports Illustrated Stadium in Harrison in the Open Cup round of 16. We're very, very privileged to have from Third Degree Dan Crooke with us tonight. How you doing, Dan?
Wonderful as always. How about yourself?
I mean, a dreadful match on the weekend. The team looks absolutely exhausted. What better to have a winner-take-all contest on?
Wait, which one are you talking about?
I'm talking about the Red Bulls, but I know you guys had a pretty miserable game yourself. Tell us the story of the 2025 FC Dallas and what's working and what's not working and why.
Well, the what's working is a little bit less than what's not working. So, big rebuilding year, first year of a new cycle. The team brought in Eric Quill as head coach, former Bern player, former Metro Stars player.
For a cup of coffee, yes.
Yeah. He got his coaching career, his professional coaching career, I should say, kicked off in DFW with the North Texas SC, at the time USL League One team, won the inaugural season, went off assistant at Columbus, went to New Mexico United, and then the Hunts threw a bag of money and brought him home, so to speak. So I think everybody came into the season expecting a little bit of a mixed bag with the roster rebuild.
So many changes.
Yeah, exactly. Big salary dumps for Paul Arriola, Jesus Ferreira, bringing in Lucho Acosta to complement Petar Musa. Big changes kind of in the defense. Definitely not a complete story there. But I think the big thing coming into it was the team was going to be a team that wins 4-3 every week or loses 4-3 every week.
Well, you got one of those big wins, a big 4-3 win a couple of weeks ago, right?
Well, yeah, it's just the 4-3s aren't coming quite as often as you'd think with Musa, with Lucho Acosta, Anderson Julio. There was an expectation that the attack would be pretty good and the defense would be terrible, and both have been pretty mediocre. So it's been a lot of smaller scorelines, unfortunately.
Yeah. Obviously, like New York, Dallas playing a ton of games in May. Like New York, a 2-0 loss in a derby match on the weekend. I'm sure there's been some squad rotation that Eric Quill done just to make sure that everyone can get up in the morning. Let us know who you think are the players that might cause the biggest damage on Wednesday in Harrison.
I think that's going to be kind of interesting to see who Quill puts out. After the defeat on the weekend, there was kind of almost a tone that the Open Cup almost gained a little bit of seriousness. It obviously, coming into the season, it was the best chance that FC Dallas had to win anything.
Sure.
Not necessarily putting it up too high anyway, but Sporting Kansas City not being in the cup, and that's the team that always knocks FC Dallas out. So, you got a much increased chance there already. There have been a lot of injuries. Petr Musa's just coming back. He got 45 minutes at the weekend. Paxton Pomacar's coming back after over a year out. He's up to 20, 30 minutes. Sebastian Leget's pretty close. Marco Farfan's just made the bench, so he'll be starting to get some minutes. It's going to be interesting to see how much of a rotation there is. There really wasn't much for the fourth round game,
yes.
Against AV Alta. But that was also coming off a 5-0 loss in San Diego. So I think Quill's trying to use these games to shape the mentality as much as anything and really rotate the minutes. It's a real mixed bag. It's not one of those ones where you can say definitively, they're really taking it seriously and putting out the best 11 they have, because the best 11 they have is pretty patched up anyway. But also, hey, they're not just playing the kids.
Yeah, I mean, Lucho Acosta has enough history of doing damage to New York at home. These teams have met in the Open Cup once before, Dan. Were you following FC Dallas in September of 1997?
I did not live in this country in 1997.
Where there was a team named the Dallas Burn in 1997?
I used to play as the Dallas Burn on FIFA 97, weirdly enough, just because I liked the name. So it was kind of funny that by chance I ended up living here.
That's wild. Well, these teams met in the semifinals, the only time that the Metro Stars ever played on the island of Manhattan at Columbia University, and lost in extra time after World Cup star Branco got a red card for New York. It was chef's kiss. Dallas actually won the Open Cup, beating DC United in penalties that year. Talk to us about maybe a young player that maybe doesn't have a lot of the credential that we have heard of. Perhaps, obviously this team has had a very strong youth program over the last few years. I mean, Weston McKennie notwithstanding, Ricardo Pepi notwithstanding, Ferreira's notwithstanding. Like, is the next generation happening yet? And if so, are there any players on this team that make sense that we should be paying attention to?
I don't think quite of the ilk of those players. Nolan Norris is the main youngster that's playing. He's kind of been thrust into the lineup at left back with Marco Farfan out after getting a compartment syndrome surgery.
Ooh.
Yeah, a lot of fun. He plays left back. He's U20 captain more often than not. His development's been a little bit funny. It's gone between centre back, but he's a little bit short for centre back. Left back, he's not really fast for a left back. Defensive midfield, he's not really big enough and stocky enough for a defensive midfielder. So I think where he actually pans out in his professional development is anyone's guess, but he's doing a pretty solid job at left back. In terms of maybe a younger player that's projecting a little better, Kaique, 19-year-old Brazilian defensive midfielder that they brought in for a reported $4 million from, wasn't Gremio, was it? Sorry, I'm forgetting who it was, but it was a Brazilian team. Very raw, came in with exactly one professional appearance, started to get some minutes, really got pushed into the lineup with injuries in the midfield, and very raw, but really, I think Eric Quill talks about things like warriorhood.
Yes.
And he defines that. He is a walking yellow card. He is going to chase every ball. He's going to lunge into every tackle. A a lot of fun to watch in a not overly fun season so far. But yeah, I think young player, or maybe he hasn't got the credentials quite yet. I think that's a player that sums it up.
Dallas hasn't beaten New York in a very long time. They haven't won in the New York area since 2006. It's a very, very long time. It is an outrageous in a league built on parity. And I know these teams sadly no longer play every year, much less play in one place or the other. That's outrageous. Obviously, none of these players, the coaching staff, well, Quill was certainly in and around the game, but I'm wondering if that kind of an outrageous stat is going to be a driver of any sort of desire tomorrow Wednesday night, or is it just simply, guys, we're 4 wins from a title, go out and throw it all out on the field and see how we do?
Eric Quill's definitely said throwing out the phrase 4 or 5 cup finals. This season's really strange. They've got an absolutely terrible home record, but a kind of a league-leading away record. So, up till losing 5-0 at San Diego, they won at RSL, they drew at Atlanta, they won at Miami. Granted, Miami rotated a fair few players. They've been great on the road. The cup tends to add a dimension to that. It's not quite, the form that goes out the window, so to speak. So can they take that same tenacity into the game on Wednesday?
Let's talk just a little bit before I let you go. You've been great with your time about Paxton Pomykal. Here was a player that, as a youth player, a player that was breaking into the U.S. men's national team for a little bit of a time. I believe suffered a devastating injury, if I have that right. And since then, his career has definitely, I think, peaked at age 25. He continues. I mean, listen, MLS is full of Americans that this is their ceiling, and that's totally okay. I'm just kind of curious how Pomykal has fit into this year's team. I know he hasn't played a whole lot, and he clearly doesn't have a point yet.
Yeah, just made the 2 appearances, so 30 minutes so far. He's someone that Eric Quill talks about as being a quality player that can help advance the ball. Came through as more of a 10, has played as like a utility wing. He can play 8, he can play a bit of 6. He doesn't really like 6, but he'll do it.
Yes.
I think that's kind of he's an important player to have in there. Eric Quill tends to float between a single and double pivot in the midfield, likes to play around between a back 3 and a back 4. So having a player that can go box to box, that is willing to drop back and has the kind of range of in terms of passing and coverage defensively is definitely a huge skill set that he has that the team generally lacks. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a slow progression for him. He has a history of hamstring injuries. He had a meniscus tear cleaned up. He had a cam impingement in his hip, so they had to shave his hip bone.
Oh Lord!
Yeah, it was started as like sports hernias, and then they kind of got in and realized that something else was wrong because he was every season ending with a surgery. Played 6 minutes last year. was shut down. They realized that just playing through the pain wasn't going to do it, and they really needed to address a long-standing meniscus injury. Not meniscus, cartilage injury or cartilage issue. It's been an interesting one seeing him on the sidelines for 14 months to now come back. Team's been kind of hyping him up quite a bit, maybe more than is wise in that position, but he's the homegrown for FC Dallas.
Yes. No, I recall.
He's a very popular guy. He is the player that I think on his best day, injuries aside, you could have said, hey, he could project to leaving for a larger European league. But he's the guy that's also going to be there until he wins something and can go off triumphantly. So
What a
Yeah, I
lovely
think everyone
thought.
would love to. Yeah, everyone would love to see him achieve that. It's just injuries getting in the way.
Yeah, great. Well, listen, thank you so much. Do you have a prediction for Wednesday night?
I try not to make predictions because if I do, they go terribly wrong.
We make them anyway. We don't care. We throw them out knowing that we're going to get it wrong. Well, listen, Dan Crooke from Third Degree, where can folks find you on the internets?
Oh, that's tough. Social media, I have a Twitter. I don't use it a whole lot. Likewise with Blue Sky. Really just, on thirddegree.net for a lot of FC Dallas, Dallas Trinity, Atletico Dallas right now,
Yes.
Texoma FC, whoever we're covering in North Texas. There's a lot of soccer suddenly popping up in the area. So, you can find me there more often than not.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dan. We've got more Seeing Red coming up after this short break. Some very fire emails. So keep it here. Back on Seeing Red, the New York Soccer Roundup. Red Bulls still have 4 more matches to play in May, and it's the 19th. Yeah. After Dallas, they go to DC on the weekend. We won't have another show between now and then. Then home for Charlotte, and then home for Atlanta. And then they get a 2-week break, and everyone can collapse. And if they win in the Open Cup, that's, I think, mid-July.
July 8th and 9th.
July 8th or 9th. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, you might be aware that you can write us anytime at seeingredny@gmail.com. We ask you to do that. Here's Andrew Barnacle. Mike, would you like to read this, or shall I?
Give me 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
That's all right. I'll read it. You get the next one.
Yeah, I'll get the next one.
All right. Andrew Barnacle says, Mark and Mike, not even waiting for the match to end to write this because nothing will change this message. You can argue tactics, lineups, field conditions, and the like until the cows come home. But the absolute only thing this club can truly control is its effort. They're down 2-0 in a derby against what could be considered their biggest rival, and half the team is walking around as if they couldn't be bothered. It's disgusting, quite frankly. For 90 minutes, we asked that they fight for the badge and give it their all. Despite the crowded schedule and rotation of the games, this looked like a group that was just going through the motions. I wouldn't be mad if people start tuning out from the club after this. If they aren't going to give their best for us, why show up for them? Do we put this on Sandro? And if so, is the heat getting warm? How are they rolling out to the biggest game to date and putting out a performance and effort like that? I know he worked miracles last year to get to MLS Cup, and I know we're missing players, but the effort and desire to play this game was downright dismal and disrespectful to the traveling fans, hoping for better days ahead. Andrew Barticle. And also important to note, and we hadn't talked about this, both Noah Ayla and Shaw Nealis are suspended on yellow cards, not for the Open Cup game, but for the DC game on the weekend. And who will be playing? Alexander Hack and Tim Parker. And who played in the 2-1 home loss to DC United? Alexander Hack and Tim Parker. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. Sir, your thoughts on a very unhappy Andrew Barnacle's note?
I'm thinking.
Yes.
And I'm just going to say that I'm still not on the Sandro hot seat yet.
I'm not either.
I think that he has to start wondering what's going on because, as we know, Red Bull is frustratingly European. So we know that the coach does not really, unless your name is Jesse March, you have no control of this roster in terms of who you bring in, really. So I don't know what's going on with Jokin or
it's time soon.
It's time soon. The Canadian guy whose name's slipping my head.
Julian de Guzman.
Julian Guzman. But we don't know what's going on because we don't have any access to those guys. We don't know what this team is planning to do to fix any issues they have. It's like I said before, everyone's pretending that Lewis Morgan is the Anna Parent. The issue with this team is that there's no clear direction, and all we've been told is we're going to play Red Bull fundamentals. Red Bull fundamentals is enough to get to the playoffs and get a bye, but they aren't doing enough to actually advance the system. If we don't have any sort of change, that's the problem. And I can't even put that on Sandro. That's on the front office.
I just think the players on the field the other day looked very timid and looked oftentimes befuddled as to how to generate a quality scoring chance. And because of that, there weren't really any. There were barely any quality scoring chances.
The issue also is that Sandro didn't rotate enough, but if you look at it, are you going to start Wiki Carmona?
Right.
Are you going to start, like, you had to start Raheem Edwards, and that's already horrible.
I guess the question was, though, I mean, to be fair, I think they played a much better game at Nashville. They really fought in Nashville. They had quality looks in the last half hour. They had opportunities to tie the game. And watching it live, it was like he's going for it. He's staying in, he's keeping his starters in and back, he's making changes to try and get a point out of this game. And I guess if you ask the fans, would you rather have had them brave the white flag against Nashville to have fresher guys ready to go against City? I mean, I know the fans would say yes, please, but
hindsight's 50-50 or 20.
Yeah, of course. Hindsight's what? I'm sorry.
I said hindsight's 50-50, and I realized no, hindsight's 2020.
He who live in glass homes. Okay. You've got thank you, Andrew, for your note. You got the next one, my friend?
I do. It's from Jimmy Hoffa.
Jimmy Hoffa for Beyond the Grave.
Live from underneath Giant Stadium. Dear Mark and Mike, I'm not even quite sure what to say. I know that I am known to send in quite wordy and plithy emails, but this team has completely dumbfounded me. As I'm sitting in the nosebleeds at Citi Field,
someone before the end of the game is writing emails, and that's awesome.
They're like, I got it. It's like when someone calls WFAN like from the stands, like, I gotta get this out.
Right.
Me here and you there.
Right.
I cannot understand why they wouldn't rotate against Nashville, a game they lost, by the way, and instead have all their starters exhausted for a rivalry match. Same thing every year, an exhausted team, all out of ideas by June, and the cherry on top will be the South American, Scandinavian, or African teenager they acquire in the summer window while they sit in 8th place. They used up all our luck last year and didn't finish the job. As we get into the late summer, we will start having the ambition and is anybody home discussions. It all seems so tiresome and futile, even for a person who loves the sport. Meh, Jim H.
My son, who has probably seen about 250 games in his 21 years of life, said, honestly, if they don't start playing a more attractive brand, I don't know why I would continue to watch this. And I will tell you that he's definitely not alone.
We've said that for years, though. We've said that Red Bull soccer is awful to watch. We've said that for years.
Someone noted today that Sandro has won 12 of his 48 games at the helm.
I mean, look, that's bad. I will say that the whole rotation thing, this is just a terrible spot to be in. I don't think that's saying you have to rest people because it's a rivalry game. No. You play to win the game. You play if you're in Nashville, you're not gonna raise the white flag. You go, I got City coming up. That means they're in your heads.
Right.
I don't know what you're doing with that logic. You play to win in Nashville because you're in Nashville. You're not thinking about Queens 3 days later.
Right.
And same thing with the Open Cup. You're not playing if you're in the game. You're not going to start pulling people unless you're down 5-0. At the same time, I'll say that the Red Bulls are going to be the Red Bulls, and the beatings will continue until morale improves. You will come back to the stadium, or you will add a reason to Mark's list, and that's that.
By the way, that was an incorrect stat that someone shared. In all competitions for the teams, Schwartz is 21, 18, and 17. which is a winning record.
That's good.
I mean, it's almost all those numbers are almost the same, right?
At the same time, look at the team he's been given. Look at the teams he's been given. Yeah. I'm not trying to be. He does. I don't like coming on here and just saying like defending him at all times. But I will say that he joined this team right after Lassane.
Yep.
He absorbed, except for Emil Forsberg, it was essentially the same team. He absorbed a Gerhard Struber team with added Emil Forsberg and got it to MLS Cup.
Yeah.
And then in the 70 days between last season and this season, they brought in Chupo, they brought in Hack, and they lost a lot. So it kind of evened out.
Yeah.
But besides John Tolkien, they lost like the defense, they lost the midfield, they lost Omir Fernandez in the middle of the season. It's tough when you go that deep in the playoffs. You don't have a lot of time to fix things. Yeah. So I will say that the team around him has not developed. I don't think the front office would have done much if there was a first round exit last year, but we'll never know. But it's given what they have, I'm not surprised he's near 500.
Yeah. The U.S. men's national team Gold Cup roster came out. Some familiar names are on it, like Tyler Adams, which we knew, Caden Clark, who will not make the Gold Cup team, Tim Ream, who might, John Tolkien, who might, Brian White, who you have
should
absolutely
should.
So, we've come to an end.
There were 5 Red Bulls. Did you see them?
I did not. Who are the 5 Red Bulls?
So from the New York Red Bulls and New York Red Bulls too.
Okay.
Raheem
Omar
Edwards.
Valencia for sure.
Yeah, Omar Valencia for Panama.
Yeah.
Raheem Edwards for Canada.
Okay.
Andy Rojas for Costa Rica.
Sure.
And 2 Red Bull 2 players whose names I'm going to butcher. Rafael Mosquera, forward for Panama, and Aymar Modelo, defender, Panama.
Okay. Well, I know who my second team is in the Gold Cup, unless, of course, they play the U.S. We've come to an end of a terrific Seeing Red, as always. Mike, where can folks find you?
You could find me on Twitter still, at Michael Battista. You can find me on Blue Sky, at Battista. And you can find my writings at Hudson River Blue. My Red Bull stuff is at New York Sports Nation. And my Open Cup stuff is on thecup.us and US Soccer.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It's all Battista all the time.
All
the time. Want to thank Dan Crooke for stopping by and telling us about FC Dallas. Want to thank Zach Bell, member stats. Again, after 3 shows in 7 days, we're going to take a little bit of a break. The Red Bulls play at DC this weekend. If you're going, be loud, be strong, be safe. Thanks again for watching, everyone. We will be back after that. Enjoy the Open Cup. If you're going, you can watch it on CBS Sports Network. So do that. Or even better yet, come to the stadium, won't you? Be well. Thanks.